Supreme Leader, the United Nations demands that you come to New York and address them.
Fine. We are going to America.
I ain't gotta tell you, but it's your boy Ho from the U.S.
Admiral General, welcome to New York City. And while you're here, I highly recommend a visit to the Empire State Building before you or one of your cousins takes it down.
Jihad on Sacha Baron Cohen. I'm tired of that
like
son of a bitch.
I like him.
I'm tired of him, man.
Alone.
I still like him too, but with this you go like, well, all right, maybe he's not quite a genius like I was saying before.
Sick of him, man. He's smug and he thinks he's so fucking funny. I'm tired of him, man.
He's the guy you always wanted to be, Corey? Is that what it is?
No, he is not. You mean annoying? Always in my face thinking he's funny? You know what am I talking about? I like Sacha Baron Cohen.
How you gonna say
I know, man. I
see you
Sacha
smile in the
Baron
corner of your mouth like,
I know. I know. You know, he is that guy that he does kind of have the attitude of like, I'm funny and I know it and I'm just going to put all these funny costumes on, do funny voices and the people going to laugh and laugh.
You know what I like about him though? Is that he actually gives you a break. After like he'll do a Bruno movie where he's out doing promotion. He's on every goddamn talk show. He'll do it for every one of his movies. And even, what was it? What was the last one he did?
Hugo?
No, wait. Bruno was the last one he did. Yeah. Bruno was the last one he did where I can at least say that this movie I thought was a little better than Bruno. But the thing is, like I said, the guy gives you some time to breathe.
You're right about that. No, I was going to say he might have that kind of. Look, I don't know the guy. I'm just reading too much into it, but I will say even in his weakest material, he makes me laugh. Mm-hmm. And this right here is funny.
It's his weakest material.
I was going to say this. It's funny to have how
it's the game changer in how he has to do his thing though, because before he's always relied on the laughs being that he's putting people who don't know what's going on in really bizarre situations, and we're laughing, going, "Oh my god, that'd be fucked up having to deal with that," and watching them do stuff that really shows who these people really are. Whereas here, it's all scripted.
Yeah, it's totally scripted. Where Bruno and Borat and the Ali G show. He would go out and mingle with real people who didn't know who he was.
Right. Yeah, but now everybody knows.
But that's the problem. Yeah. You keep doing this stuff, and everybody's like, "Hey, Ray, that's you, man. I know it's you now. You ain't gonna get me again." But
you're at your old tricks again, eh?
Yeah, you that Satchel Baron Van Dregak guy, ain't you? But you know, but yeah, but with those movies, it would always be it would be fun because they would make you squirm. He would catch people off guard. He would put them in these uneasy situations and it would be filmed without them knowing it. And you would, and that's where I think is some of his best comedy comes from.
I always thought he was a master at that.
Well, with this being scripted,
because he's fearless.
Well, with this being scripted right here, he kind of loses that a little bit. And it goes back to one of his other weak films, which is the Ali G movie that he did, which was totally scripted. But I tell you, the funny thing about me thinking that this is his weakest film, actually, Ali G is probably his weakest film. This is the second one. I think that I'm with you, co-host. I think that I like this character better than I like Bruno.
Right. Yeah,
I didn't like the Bruno movie.
Yeah, there's parts of Bruno that I liked, but there's a lot of it that I didn't. And I was shocked because I actually love Bruno on the Ali G show. Yeah. So I was a little amazed. I'm like, wow, you know what? You didn't really have to go to all these shocking antics because what you were doing before on that show was working just fine. You know,
one can take only so much penis in one's face.
You're absolutely right. And I'm one of those people. Five minutes of penis is enough for me. Yeah. I don't need a whole hour of it.
See, the problem with something like Bruno is that, this is where I think, like most of the time I'm talking about conservatives, but this is where I think liberals go too far. They think that he was making some great statement about tolerance for homosexuality, where I was thinking, this movie would make me hate gay people. Yeah. You know, I'm looking at this like, why would you? It has nothing to do with this guy being gay while people are being intolerant of him. It's because he goes into a hotel room and covers the wall in shit, and people come in like, what the fuck? And we're supposed to like be mad at the guy that sees that. That's why I didn't like Bruno. It's funny. I like this character. Well, for one thing, I have a soft spot for dictators. I mean, say what you will. I
think none of us in this room are surprised by that.
Well, I don't go to the level of wanting to kill somebody, but torture to get people.
Well, wanting to.
Yeah.
Seriously, dude. You gonna say that with me sitting right here next to you?
And this is that movie where he's that lovable dictator. It's sort of a Prince and a Pauper story. Ali G plays Ali G. Sacha Baron Cohen. I don't know. And by the way, I haven't even looked at what this movie's about. I don't even remember the movie that much after I left. That tells you something. But he plays Admiral General Aladdin, who is a ruthless dictator in the
He puts
country.
the dick in Dictator.
Yes, he does, and stirs it up real good.
Yeah,
You know,
he does.
what Dia, another fictional country. Well,
Yeah.
not another
And-
fictional
and
country, but this is a
he's kind
fictional
of
country.
A cross between Muammar Gaddafi and what was Saddam's crazy son's name?
Oh, Uday?
Uday Hussein.
Uday Hussein?
But
Yeah.
funnier.
I don't know, that Uday was quite a cut up.
I was about to say, depending on how you look at it, that Uday was pretty. He was a funny guy.
Oh,
Right?
raping those little girls? Yeah, that was always.
Oh yeah. You know, just gunning people down the
But
street.
you know what? He laughed while he did it.
Yeah, and he had
That's
that,
what makes it okay.
and he had that funny voice who talk like this, you know. But yeah, I think this is a fictional country.
Yeah.
Yes,
what
it is.
Dia- I'm letting you know. I ain't even trying to front.
No. It's right next to Latveria.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now where's that?
It's located in Yugoslavia.
Where's that?
It's right underneath what the fuck is stand.
Yeah.
I can understand thinking maybe it was real though, because Borat they actually took place in a real country,
Yeah.
and that country was not pleased.
The country hates him.
Yeah, Kazakhstan. Yeah, they were like, yeah, and it's funny because most people thought that was a made up country until Kazakhstan got pissed. They're like, hey, wait a minute, shit, fuck that, we not like that. That dumb motherfucker making us look bad. But no, so I guess he said, well, shit, I better go with a fictional country this time, especially when they out there like pulling the jihad on people and shit. But yeah, it has that Prince and a Pauper type theme to it because he's in the middle of wanting to be taken down by his cabinet, his administration. They don't like him, and they pull in a dummy to take his place. And meanwhile, he's
not a dummy.
Well, no, yes, he was. That guy was a
Double.
that guy was a dummy. That guy was a total idiot. That guy, yeah, they pick out some schlo who's a sheep herder.
They hired the same dummy that worked with the Three Stooges and Benny Hill.
Exactly, yeah. No, they get this guy who's like a sheep herder to take his place. Meanwhile, in New York, where he's supposed to give this big speech, that's what happens. He's pulled out in the middle of the street, has his beard shaven, and he can't get into his own speech to deliver. They think he's just a crazy guy. So now he's wandering streets like he's some homeless person or something, but speaking of liberals, he gets taken in by one particular liberal, played by Anna Faris, who's one of those real granola Afro underarm type.
Yeah, real butch looking.
Liberal who runs a store full of like refugees from other countries.
Everyone who ever worked at a Whole Foods.
Exactly. So
Yeah, well, I mean, she's proud of the fact that she's never had a white boyfriend.
which
That's one of the funniest lines in the movie.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
And so he has to learn. He works with her because nobody knows who he is, and he begins to learn how to be a little more humane because as he works with her and calls her all kind of names like little man, a little boy, a little hairy guy, he begins to kind of fall for her. And listen, this movie, I don't know. I hear a lot of good things being said about it. I really don't hate this film. I really do like Sacha Baron Cohen. I like that guy a lot. I think he's extremely talented. I think he can play. I think he can be a serious actor. I've seen him in Sweeney Todd, and I didn't see Hugo, but I heard he's great in that.
He's actually good in Hugo.
Yeah, and then I see him doing his comedy right here, and you're right, the guy's fearless, which is why I'm disappointed when I see this movie because this film I don't think really lives up to his talents because to me it felt just like one of those Saturday Night Live movies based on a short skit or a character that they have that they don't really know what to do.
Well, you know, this, just like those other movies he's done, is written by Larry Charles, who appears to be his partner in crime in general.
Yeah,
they work well together. No
and that
question.
guy, what he does, like his main thing that he's known for is writing for Seinfeld, right?
No, that's
Larry David.
Yeah.
No, this guy is too.
Larry
Is it?
Charles?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, Larry Charles. I'll look it up real quick, but yeah, he's Larry Charles is
This
best.
is when the show gets
Hold
interesting.
on while we
Ready.
look up
Search
shit
the
on
internet.
Wikipedia.
I know. I'm looking at. Well, y'all can look it up. I'm looking at it right now as an American.
Me first.
He's best known as a staff writer for Seinfeld.
Oh, there you go. All right. So regardless,
Y'all motherfuckers trying to treat me stupid.
you can understand our mistake.
Well, hey, look, I don't even know like the geography, so how am I gonna know what
His
this guy
name's
does?
pronounced Charles. So like this, it sounds like they've got a lot of the same type spirit going on here. It's certainly the same type of idea, except it's not going to work as well because it relies on that audience reaction of scripted. And I can't help but wonder, Sacha Baron Cohen can appear in lots of movies as an actor now.
Sure.
He's much in demand and he's clearly good at playing characters. it seems like, why doesn't he keep his credit as a director and co-writer and find somebody else to be the center part of his movies with that same gimmick?
Well, why would you want? Why would you want to though? Why wouldn't you want?
I mean, you discover some other good improv guy that you.
But that's some guy that's going to end up taking your job.
Well, the reason you would no, because the guy's not the director.
But who? I mean,
the actor.
The thing is, I mean, his fame is built on the fact that he is fearless. He will go into situations that even the Jackass crew would be like, "Fuck that."
Yeah.
Right.
Who is he going to find to do that shit?
There's that. And it'd be heavily insured.
And he's such a master of it that it's like, why would he want somebody else to potentially screw that up?
Because he can't do it anymore. That's why.
I think he can. It's just that when it comes to scripts that I guess you can say that are catered to him. I mean, I see that happening with a lot of comics where you see people that try to write like him, or try to write the characters that he usually plays. And a lot of times it just doesn't work. I mean, with this movie, you can kind of feel that a lot of it for me with this movie was kind of hit and miss. A lot of the jokes, sometimes that didn't rely on him failed. They just fell flat because you have other actors that just can't do that type of humor where when he would deliver some of those jokes, it just seemed natural. It seemed like it worked. But then again, a lot of times, you could tell that he was trying to integrate that type of, surprise humor on people walking the streets. I could see he was trying to do that because you could tell that's just something that that person can hone. But dealing with a script, it's always kind of tough. But, I thought that the good thing about this movie, though, was that it wasn't long enough to really see all that, fail.
Yeah, I because, damn, what's wrong with me? I'm sounding like a car starting up. But I'm like you. I don't want to hold the guy to doing one format. I think he's talented enough to transcend that. It's just I think a lot of this movie depends on improvisational comedy, and I think that improvisational comedy, God damn it, it works better for me just knowing what he's come off of doing. That kind of improvisation works better when he's doing it with unsuspecting real life people. When they're doing it here, sometimes the gags really work, and sometimes the editing is so bad, or they don't know how to end a joke because it's scripted only halfway. They didn't have an ending for it. They just had a premise that when it's cut, it ends on a very flat note.
Thank you for saying that, because I mean, I like Sacha Baron Cohen too, but I ain't gonna sit here and give him extra protection because I love his other movies. I think for the most part, this movie is actually pretty bad, and that some of the worst editing I've ever seen. Because you're right, it's a lot of those jokes they just seem to be improv. They don't have that good of a punchline, and it just cuts awkwardly. It's like, wow, you didn't have anything, and just let's just move on and get this movie made. It almost watching it, it's like made me think like when I watch Borat, like the first beginning of Borat when he's in Kazakhstan and all that scripted, I'm like. I'm just kind of like, man, I'm not digging this because this is all, it's like picking the low hanging fruit. It's all, the jokes are really crass and just shock value, not really that funny, almost written for a 13-year-old.
Stop right there, Leon. What are you talking about?
It
was hilarious.
It was giving me that feeling of like when I saw that movie, Your Highness, where I'm like, wow, you're just really playing to just like the bassest crowd. And this movie felt like maybe like with Borat, like they shot a whole movie that was scripted. Just like that bad part, but then they went in and did the guerrilla stuff to fill in. And it's like, okay, this is what we're going to use to replace it. And almost like they had that planned here and just like, look, nobody's going to believe him as a dictator. So we just got to stick with the scripted parts. Now saying that, I will say the thing that kept me from just hating the movie was that it, as you brought up, co-host, it's hit and miss. It'd be miss, and then it'd be a hit. And I'd be like, wow, I got a genuine laugh out of that. And this other actor who's in it, Jason Mousakis, who's like his
is that the guy that played the scientist?
He played the scientist. That guy was hilarious.
He was.
Like every time he came on, he knew how to deliver. And even though it was almost like the same premise of a joke, or just telling this guy how full of shit he was, and like, no, you're completely wrong about that. But he was funny.
Seeing those two guys play off each other,
it
really worked. Yeah, I mean, it just watching him play off somebody, I was like, wow, he seems like just one of those guys. He has to be on. Like he's not gonna let anybody else in that spotlight. But I was really amazed, like watching those two work together. I'm like, this is a really good comedy team.
Yeah,
that's really working, especially from this other guy who I fucking have never seen before, but besides, maybe on CNN or something if I'm scared about what's going to happen on 9/11 again. But, the thing is that I was like, wow, this guy, he's a real talent. I mean, after watching this movie, I caught the same guy in something else. I wish I could remember what it is right now. But it's a guy.
He looked familiar, but I was like, I don't know.
You saw him on that show.
That's my favorite cooking show. But watching him though, that's a guy who I'm going to keep on my radar because I thought every scene he was in was just hilarious.
Well, you know why that worked? I think because it's funny when you see certain actors be brought in. And this isn't I'm not trying to downplay the talent of some of the people they had in this movie. There's a lot of cameos in this movie are small, very small supporting roles like John C. Reilly and Edward Norton comes in. There's other cameos by other people. And the jokes that they put them in, it doesn't work for that improvisational side of it. And the joke sometimes just doesn't work. Like the joke that they had Edward Norton in, there's a running joke where not Sacha Baron Cohen, but who's the Asian guy? Was that Dat Fan or?
No, that's not Dat Fan. But he's that guy from the Harold and Kumar.
He's from Mad TV. He's the Asian guy from Mad TV.
That Asian guy from Mad TV. There's a running joke with him, and he has a couple of actors in on it, and you can see that those actors really don't know how to work that joke.
And that joke though, like you're saying, that is already getting so old hat. Yeah. Where I'm like, I'm really sick of seeing them just throwing a random celebrity just to have him to play a one-note joke that just doesn't work, but they keep doing it. I'm like, all right, you know what? Stop this already, because even the celebrities that they had in this movie, I'm like, wow, these celebrities aren't really relevant.
What they're doing is they're bringing in celebrities to do shock humor, and I'm sorry, people, it's a sad thing to maybe say about this society, but nothing's shocking anymore.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Until we start
rely on shock humor.
What's that?
You can't rely on shock humor
until we start.
That shocking.
I mean, I hate to say it, we're just very short of watching a snuff film or somebody fucking animals on screen. I mean, that's because shock humor, when we know it's fake, it doesn't really do much anymore.
Embarrassing now.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm always waiting for somebody to reinvent it in some way, because you are right. It's funny you brought that up, because I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, and I was actually having a conversation to a buddy of mine just where like, wow, like shock comedy, it's all been done. We've all seen shit flying across the screen, hitting people in the face, people getting raped and laughing at it. And it's like, what else can we possibly do without like dragging our mother into some kind of torture chamber and just doing all kinds of slapstick shit?
Oddly enough, it was Sacha Baron Cohen who kind of did reinvent it with the Borat and Bruno movies. Just that playing a character in somebody's face and putting them on the spot and seeing how they react. That was like, that's something new. I have not seen somebody do
the
this.
Genius of that wasn't just that it was in their face. It was that they were setting up people, like I said, where we saw the side of themselves that they were hiding. These unsuspecting people. He was pulling out the racism out of people and the sexism and what have you in a way that was really quite genius. But without that, what do you have? You have another regular shock.
But that's a good point, because when he did that, those movies, they were satire to the point of social commentary. And it was really interesting to see those things brought out of people that we still don't want to accept as being very prevalent in today's society. And so to see it right there live not live, but see it real on the screen, that was the sort of genius that was happening with his comedy. Now here, just for him to bring that shock humor in there, it's just shock humor. But when he brought, what's that actor's name that he's with?
Jason Mantzoukas?
Yeah, that story was almost endearing, because because the way that's actually something that grew. That actor plays a scientist, and their roles are reversed. When Sacha Baron Cohen plays, when he's actually in his country being a dictator, he's abusing all these people, including that guy, just being a shithead to him. And later on, when he's in America and on the run, he's forced to be with this guy again, and it turns into this buddy movie where you get to see what started out before these characters actually grow. So that I actually thought that was really funny, and I liked that part of the movie. I'll tell you, man, I as much as I said I don't want to see this guy get stuck in a rut and do the same thing, I think this was a missed opportunity to do that. I don't think anybody would have recognized Sacha Baron Cohen running around the city, all covered in dirt and everything, being a homeless guy, telling people he's like this dictator that needs to get back into his position. True. And regular people like, man, get the fuck out of here, you're crazy. And then today it's even more primed to bring out the social commentary that is like the new heightened racism of Muslims and not black people, but and not Mexicans, but the other brown people.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the scene where they were in the helicopter, and they were with those tourists, and they started like speaking in their language and you started to terrify.
When they give out those keywords of like,
keywords of 9/11.
9/11, World Trade Center, boom,
explosion, boom.
أنا ماش متقاقع على محونيوت شلي.
وانت بورشة.
أيوة. 9/11.
Oh, 9/11, it's the best.
بيش لي زي أنا بأوتو مع 9/11. ما شو كرام. أيوة أنا كده ودخل. أنا said 9/11 2012.
بحوان إلا وحواني لو فويش مش امباير ستيت بيلدينج ولكن ذا يانكي ستاديوم
لا نسيب أنا سيد بس هو شاينا بس ستاتشيو اوف ليبرتي. أيوة.
I was like, wow, you know what? That would have been perfect if they actually got some real people in there during that and actually filmed that. But, you know, surprisingly enough, that scene worked, though. It worked. It worked anyway. But I the whole time I was thinking they should have gotten real people in here. But, I mean, the thing is about him going on the streets, though, like telling people he was a dictator. I could have sworn some of these previews that I've seen, it looked like he actually went to actual people, but in the movie, it seemed like there's a lot of this movie that was cut out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember in the trailer, you know, he's riding his camera, he's like, America, the birthplace of AIDS. You know, they cut that shit out of the movie. I'm sure somebody was like, hey man,
there's actually a bunch of stuff
really
I
cool.
saw the trailer that didn't make it to the final cut.
So I'm curious, like, if he actually went out and tried to do some of that, and maybe it just didn't work in the context of the movie. Maybe it felt off kilter. But you're right. I wish they would have incorporated more of what he's good at, which is catching people off guard. But once again, you know, with a movie like this, I really thought that the biggest problem with it is that, you know, we're so used to him, you know, just calling people out on their bullshit that there was nobody to call out with this movie, really. This movie really didn't have that much of a message that we haven't really seen before, even though, you know, I like some of the scenes, the end scene when, you know, he gets to talk about,
his
you
big
know,
speech.
his big speech,
You know what?
I thought was incredible.
The movie was completely losing me, and that speech brought me back.
That speech was
I might have given it some old
masterful.
bullshit if not for that speech.
Yeah,
I
he
feel
gives
stupid.
at the end of the movie, he gives a speech which
it should be written down and people paste on their face.
That's funny because like the movie The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin is really, really famous for him coming in and doing a really fantastic speech.
Oh, really?
Which I wouldn't be surprised if that movie wasn't like some kind of inspiration to do that. Yeah.
I mean, I know you guys like that, but you know, there's a speech at the end of this movie. It's not really spoiling anything. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's pretty much saying everything and summarizing everything that is wrong with America. And even though you might be thinking, man, that asshole, well, shit, he's right. You know?
I know. He's making so many good points.
Wow, I can't deny anything.
But it did make me think, though. It's like, wow, that speech was great. But I was like, but I kind of had to endure some of this movie to get to that point.
The other thing about that speech is that it's a summary, like you said, it's a summary of everything that we do kind of know already. Mm-hmm. And he's saying it. I would have liked for it to have come out in a more clever way instead of just at a speech at the end of the movie. Now, co-host, here's what I was talking about before we started recording. Now, I was in New York. You guys were here watching the movie, except you, Cyrus. You had something to do. And, well, you laughing.
I did. I had something to do.
You make it sound like I was talking about
you. Should have been there.
You had something to do, you lazy man.
Something or someone.
You undedicated son of a bitch. But no, I connected with you, man.
Yeah.
Because I think we watched a movie at the same time. And we had that Fievel American Tale Somewhere Out There moment.
Oh, God. I'm scared. I'm scared, Leon.
There's a moment in the movie that they do something with a dead black man's head. And I don't want to say what it is, but when they were playing around that dead black man's head, I looked up in the air and you were over my shoulder like, somewhere out there, co-host just laughing with me.
You know what? I love that scene so goddamn much.
And you love that scene.
I had to hold back because the whole time I'm laughing, I look over at Leon. Leon's like going, I swear to God, Leon's kind of like, you know, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't laugh at this. I don't know.
No, you know what? The thing is, like, that whole setup, what they did with that head, I did think it was funny.
Okay.
And it was funnier longer than I expected it to be. But he just didn't know when to stop. There was a point where I was like, see, all right, enough already.
See, Leon, I thought it didn't go on long enough.
I know. And that's the thing. I wanted more of that head in that movie. That sounds kind of nasty. I wanted more head in that movie.
But plus, with Coast, they're laughing at me. I mean, I was like, is this what he's going to do to me when I die?
When we chop your head off. Yeah. In fact, we want to chop your head off now that we've seen the movie. Apparently, we find it funnier than you do, so you got to go.
I need a provision in my will that you guys can't show up at my funeral.
I have to say that while I was sitting up there singing the co-host over my shoulder, you were on my other shoulder, slapping me on the back of that. Shut up. That ain't funny.
I don't know how many times I was about to get slapped. Every time I laughed at something his character would say about black people. No.
Actually, I've seen Cyrus in those kind of situations where they make a joke about black people in the movie, and he would actually turn and look at Leon and go like, black people suck.
You're misunderstanding. I'm turning to look at him going, is it okay for me to laugh? Am I allowed to think that's funny?
I thought you were trying to rub it in. Like,
no.
I'm glad I ain't got those problems.
I know better than that. I'm sitting between you and him. I figure I better look at Leon and say, is this okay for white people to laugh? Or should I be mad?
No.
Real quick. I'm sure we'll wrap this up, but what do you guys think of Anna Faris?
Man, actually, I liked her in it. I just like the idea of like just uglying her down. It's like, that's criminal. Why would you do that?
And they did a great job of it.
Anna Faris, they did a good job of that because I mean, they actually, I don't know if they made her gain some pounds in that movie, or if girls just look bad in overalls. In the movie, like I said, she plays like a very, Austin granola hippie chick type
Butchie
feminist,
with the
liberal.
butch haircut.
I sympathize with feminists. I'm all for, I'm almost a feminist deep down myself, but goddamn, if I can shave my armpits, they need, they need to do it too. But they did ugly her down that movie, and the great thing about it was we just saw her in that movie, What's Your Number, where she has that scene where she's swimming and
she was fucking hot.
And I'm like, damn, boy, that is still fresh in my mind. So looking at this, you're right. That's just sad what they did.
And every time he's calling her a 12-year-old boy, that's all I could think about.
She looked like
we kept calling her Frodo, and
she looked like a little mini version of Barnabas Collins from like Johnny Depp in Dark Shadows. She kind of looked like that, like a little midget version of that.
Yeah, he did.
No. When Oscar time comes around, don't forget best makeup.
Okay.
Well, she gets it. I mean,
best no makeup.
I was like, damn, did they use CG to get rid of her breast and all? I mean, what they do?
They did.
I tell you that you want to know something interesting about Anna Faris, and this is in relation to her movies. I remember the bunny. What was it?
That Playboy movie.
The House Bunny.
Yeah. She was one of the first movies you went, holy shit, Anna Faris is really fucking hot.
Yeah. And I've always thought she was a funny and very attractive woman.
She's very good at being earnest with her comedy.
Yeah.
Very like, oh, I totally believe this.
Yeah, that's true. I look at the House Bunny, and I look at What's Your Number. Now, I'm not saying you should like the movie, you shouldn't, but they kind of got, I'm not gonna say panned, but it didn't get a good reception with critics.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
What's Your Number? I would say it probably is a slightly more genuine movie than this movie is.
Oh, for sure.
I'm reading really good reviews about it, and I don't think the movie's terrible. I actually like the character, but I just don't understand why people go off and criticize something like those Anna Faris movies and what the difference is in this that makes it so much better, other than at the end, there's some social commentary that people say, "Oh, this is more smart than that movie."
Man, so, like I said, Sacha Baron Cohen.
This is more smarts than that movie.
I know. This guy's more smart.
I mean, look, it's his previous work. He's a darling right now.
Yeah,
he's got a layer of protection where even people like going like, "Well, it still has its moments. I still liked it." No. I thought it was great. It was very intelligent. You have to look behind all the dick jokes to see what he's really trying to say.
So what would you give it then?
I give it a rental.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there were times I was like, man, this is really leaning towards some old bullshit, but it kept winning me back. Or, Jason Moussakis, who like, he's out of the movie for a long period, but when he comes back, he's in it a lot, and it picks up. And then that speech near the end, I was like, okay, you won me over. It's a rental.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I give it a rental. It's just barely above likable for me. Nothing great. I don't even remember the movie that much now. So yeah, it's a good rental.
You're right. I mean, as much as I really want to give it a matinee because the parts I laughed at, I really laughed at. Yeah. But you're right. A lot of it is forgettable. Like Bruno, I thought was just bad. It's one of those movies. It was like one of those movies where I really felt like, man, I kind of felt like an apologist after it because I was such a big fan of that character.
Right.
And I'm just like, it's too bad because I mean, go watch Ali G. Bruno is amazing in that.
Right.
Yeah.
But with this though, I mean, it was not as memorable just because I just didn't think that, the guy really didn't get to fine tune what he's really good at, hey, if the movie did one thing, it did make me really like appreciate dictators for how awesome they are as far as like, you know what? The movie did a good point of saying, at some point there aren't going to be any more dictators around. And it's like, yeah, you're right. And who's going to be that guy?
Who's going to speak for the dictator?
Who's going to speak for the dummies? Like telling everyone like every goddamn woman joke in that movie had me laughing. I want to see a dictator go, women, they are so funny, but I would not allow them to shave my goatee. I love that shit. And
I do agree with you. It is kind of sad that we're entering an age of no dictators, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
What's sad about that?
because these are
good things.
Every great film needs its Darth Vader, it's humongous, it's Zod.
It's Corey Coleman.
I mean, yeah, it's Corey Coleman. I mean, the world kind of needs that because we're the bad guys. Who's the bad guy now? McDonald's? I mean, what really? What?
Yeah, think about it, man. I mean, how many times have you sat down at the movie theater and there was gum under your seat that you put your hand on under the armrest and you got pissed off about it? Think how many times?
I don't know.
Well, I have, and if I was a dictator, that would not happen.
Yeah.
Somebody needs their ass whooped about that. All right, that's what I'm saying. Shit, I'm looking at trash out in the middle of the street. People cannot control themselves. Okay, we need people to tell them what to do.
And you would have the streets littered with the heads of all these people.
If need be,
Apparently, it'd be funny.
Yeah.
Come on me! Could you please take your hands off my breasts?
Those are breasts? I thought you were a boy.
Accept your job offer as general manager.
Well, you can't be the manager because I'm the manager.
Well, I can if I killed you.
Okay, well.
Hey, can you take out the garbage?
Stop that.
Shut up, loser.
Hey, hairnet. Kind of need you to hurry up. Chop, chop.
Next.